Hello, my name is Terry White, Worldwide Design Evangelist for Adobe Systems, and it's my pleasure to take you through the exciting new InDesign CS5. We're going to get started in an area that InDesign CS5 now excels at, and that is the ability to engage your clients with documents and presentations that are now interactive. So let's see how we can add some interactivity to this InDesign document. The purpose of this particular document was to be a print insert into the larger magazine that we have yet to work on. However, the publisher also decided to take it interactive as well on the web. And we're going to do that right within InDesign with the tools we already know how to use. So the first thing I want to do is I have this grouping of the live text here that I want to fly in from the top. And in order to do that, I'm going to switch over to my interactivity workspace. So I have an interactive workspace that I can switch to, and it's got all the panels and controls that I'm going to need. So I'll switch over to the new animation control panel, and from here I'm going to just simply choose a preset. These are the same presets inside of Flash Professional. So I'll say fly in from top. Two things happen. I get a little preview letting me know exactly what that means, fly in from top, and more importantly, on the object itself, I get a motion path that I can edit, and it shows me which direction that's going to come in from. Now, of course, I want to be able to preview this and see what it looks like. So we have a preview spread command right at the bottom of the animation panel, and that will load an instance of the Flash player right inside this panel so I can see my animation take place. I can see my rollovers, I can see my looping animation, I can hear my sounds, but what happened to my live text? I don't see it. Everything else came in, everything else is working. Oh, there it is. Well, why did it take so long? Let's see how InDesign's animations work. Let's go to the timing panel, and basically in the timing panel, it shows me every animation I've done on this particular spread. They all happen on load, but they happen in sequential order. So that live headline that we created came in last because it was the last thing we did. So let's move it up in the stacking order, just like we do on our layers. We'll move it all the way to the top. And I don't want it to just, even though it's going to be the first thing to play, still don't want everything to play one after another. For example, I want the flies that are looping around the compost. I want those to happen together. I don't want it to, one to loop and then the second one to loop. Let's have them all loop together, and we'll just go ahead and simply select them and say play together. Now everything is set. I'll hit preview again. And my live animation will come in first. Everything else is happening in order, and all my flies are playing together, even as I hover over them and getting the sound. So that's exactly what I wanted. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and create a slideshow. We'll create the interactive slideshow for the customer to be able to walk through all the images. So we'll go ahead and choose all those images. We'll switch over to my align panel, and I'll align them to their lefts and align them to their tops. So now they're all perfectly stacked on top of each other, and I'm going to create a new object state. This object state says treat all 5 of these images as one thing. So now it's a multi-state object. I'll rename it just like you should rename your layers. I'll rename it buildings, and that way I can refer to it later as a object that I can choose, and I'll know which one is which. Now, let's go ahead and wire these buttons up to control this multi-state object. So I have a left button, and we'll go to our buttons panel, and we'll simply say, on release, create go to the next state, or previous state in this case. So we're going to go to the previous state of the buildings object. So again, if I had more than one object, naming it is important to do. Now we'll go to the next button and do the same thing, but in this case, we'll say go to the next state of the multi-state buildings object. So now we're ready to go. We can again hit preview, and this will allow us to preview this and see exactly what we're going to get. Not only do we get our animations, but we can also test our slideshow and walk through the images, clicking the buttons, going through all the states. So very cool to be able to do this all in InDesign without having to write a single line of code. Now let's go ahead and jump over to our last spread here. And on our last spread, actually not the last spread, we're going to go back one. There we go. We're going to go to this particular spread, and we're going to work with a Flash video file that's already been placed. Now this Flash video file was placed just like you place any other image. So that's the beauty of working with video now, is you can place any of these interactive elements directly inside of InDesign. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the media panel, and the media panel even lets me preview the video. So I can click, I can scrub through, I can go to any particular frame I'm looking for. Once I get to a frame that I like, I can actually make that frame the poster frame for the movie that users will see. So we'll just go ahead and choose poster from current frame. That makes that the visual for the movie. And then we'll go ahead and choose a skin controller that people will be able to hover over and actually play the movie. So we'll say show that on rollover. So again, we're ready to go. We'll go back to the preview panel. We'll preview this. It will preview the current spread so it knows to switch to this one. And we'll go ahead and click, and we have our movie controls completely working with the rollover. So that's great that we were able to do all of this. Now, what's the handoff? Well, we can go up to the File menu, and we can do a couple of things. We can go ahead and choose Export. And if you're a print designer or a traditional designer and you don't really work with anyone or know anyone that knows Flash, then you can actually go straight to a SWF or SWF format that will be ready to put on your website. So we'll create a new folder out on the desktop for this, and we will say that this is going to be for SWF, or it is a SWF that's going on the website. So now that we've got that, we'll just go ahead and save it. It brings up all the right defaults, everything we need. The only thing we're going to do is turn off the interactive page curl because we have our own navigation bar. And of course, we want to see this when it's done, so we say View SWF after exporting. So this will go ahead and export it out. And once it's done, it will actually load it up in the browser so I can test all the interactivity directly inside of my web browser. So it's cool. I get my rollovers, I get my looping animation. I can go to my live spread that we created. I can go ahead and flip through my slideshow. I get my rollouts. I get everything that was in there. And guess what? I feel so empowered because I didn't have to write a single line of code to do this. This was all done 100% inside of InDesign. Now let's switch back over to InDesign and let's talk about one more way of exporting this. Let's say you do work with someone that knows Flash, or you yourself know Flash. Well, one of the things we can do is we can hand this off for Flash. So we can say, let's make a for Flash folder, Flash Professional. And now we'll go ahead and export this as an FLA file, a flaw file, project file that can be opened directly inside of Flash. So we can keep all the elements, including the new Flash text engine. So we'll go ahead and export this out. This will create a Flash compatible file, and we'll go ahead and start launching Flash there, get that going in the background so it'll be ready to go. And next we'll just go out to the desktop where we exported that. And there's my 4 Flash Pro. We'll go ahead and double click on it to open it. We're still opening Flash here in the background. It's about ready, and here comes Flash. And here comes our document. There we go. So our document's opening up. The exact document we created from InDesign. All my animations are there. Everything's there. I can go to any particular spread and even work with the text. So I can double click on this. All of my components are there. All of my elements are there. All of my items are there. Everything came over, including taking advantage of the new text engine that even has multi-threading right here inside of Flash. So all of the elements that are ready to go, the same elements that we saw inside of InDesign, are now here in Flash for the Flash developer to continue working on these items. So very cool to be able to do this and work with all of this directly inside of InDesign and going out to either SWF or Flash Professional. Okay, so now let's switch gears. Let's work on the bigger document and talk about all the productivity enhancements for traditional InDesign users. I'm going to switch over to Bridge for a moment. And in Bridge, I'm going to show off a couple things here. I've got this magazine layout here. This is the winter issue of the magazine. We'll just click on it. And one of the nice things in Bridge is that we can now preview or walk through an InDesign document, just like in CS4 we could do with a template. Now you can actually thumb through all the pages of an InDesign document right here in Bridge and see if this is what you want. The next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and you notice in the upper right hand corner there's a little link symbol, and that lets me know that this particular document has linked files. Now that will become very important in a few minutes, so keep that in mind. Next, we're going to go in and take a look at this particular document, and I'm going to open this document up, and we might have a problem. Let's go ahead and double click on it. Aha, the old-fashioned missing fonts dialog box. So at this point, as you know, if you open up a document in InDesign and you don't have the fonts installed, you will get a dialog box just like this one. It tells you which font you're missing. You have the option of clicking OK and dealing with it later, or finding a replacement font. So if I click OK, well, InDesign will continue to alert me that I'm missing this font with the pink highlighting. However, if I close the document, let's go back to Bridge for a moment. And let's go inside this folder where I've got another copy of the exact same document using the exact same font. Let's go ahead and open it up, but this time it works. Now you're saying, well, if it's the exact same font and you didn't install it, why does it work now and it didn't work before? Well, that's because if we go back to Bridge, you'll notice that inside of this folder with the document is a new folder that has called Document Fonts. So now InDesign looks for a Documents font folder, and we actually package up the fonts now in InDesign. We always did, but now we package them up into a folder called Document Fonts. When you launch the document that's in the same folder structure as the one with Document Fonts, InDesign will automatically, on Mac and Windows, install the font temporarily for that document only. So you could print it, you can edit text, you can do things with it in that one document. Once you close that document, those fonts are automatically uninstalled. So your productivity from your service provider standpoint just shot through the roof because they don't have to worry about installing the right font to print your job. It's automatically done the minute they open the document. The next thing we're going to do is answer a question that users have been asking for years, and that is, does InDesign handle multiple page sizes and orientations? And the answer is now yes. So I'm going to switch over to my Essentials layout here. That'll give me the tools that I want to work with in this particular case. I'm going to go to my Pages panel. And in my Pages panel, now that I'm on the Essentials workspace, we will go ahead and right-click on the first page and we will insert a new page. We'll insert that new page after the cover, and now I'll switch over to the New Page tool, select that new page, and we'll go ahead now, for the first time, we're able to actually make the new page a different size. So this new page is now a skinny page that's going to be my flap for my magazine cover, and it could also be a different orientation such as tall or wide. So now we finally get the ability to do what customers have been wanting to do for quite a while. So now that we've got that, let's go to the new Layers panel, and inside this new Layers panel we can now select, and this Layers panel is totally revamped, it looks like Illustrator, and it allows me to show and hide multiple or different objects on the same layer. So now I'm no longer restricted to hiding all of the layer or showing all of the layer. I can do it on individual objects. So I'm going to go ahead and do a shift selection here. I want to select these two elements on these two separate layers. And now that I've got them selected, we'll select them that way. Now that we got them selected, we're going to go ahead and expand them out onto the new page. So we'll go ahead and go all the way out to the bleed there, and we're good to go. So now we got our new elements onto our new flap, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and work with this group of elements. Now InDesign now shows you a group by showing you the individual or this dotted border, which is yellow and or white and orange. And now if you double click, you can actually drill down into a group without having to ungroup. And if you click out of it, you're now back to the group again. So what does this allow me to do? Well, I have this one object that I want to put in that group. That group was the masthead group. And now right inside my Layers panel, I can just simply drag it into the group. When I deselect, it is now part of the group. So it's just as easy as dragging things in and out of a group to group them now. I will go in and double click on this and I will extend it out. So I just drill down into that group and I'm able to work with that individual object without having to ungroup first. The next thing we'll do is we'll move our cover models up above the bars. So now they're above that bar but still below this new flap for the text that's for that particular flap. So now we're going to go ahead and show our text threads here, or frame edges I should say. And now with our frame edges, we can not only see that that flap content is locked, but now we get a visual indicator on the layout that that is also locked. You can now unlock something just by simply clicking the lock on the actual item. And of course, Command L or Control L on Windows will allow you to relock it. So great that we're able to do these things and work directly inside of the layout to do a lot more than we ever could before. And the new layers and grouping is awesome. So now we're going to go ahead and jump to a different spread here. We're going to go ahead and jump to spread 14. And we'll zoom out so we can see the entire spread. We'll put our layers panel away for a moment, and we're going to go to our mini bridge. Just like in Photoshop, we have the ability now to go to mini bridge directly inside of InDesign. Now, in this case, I need to place something on this page, but the items I need to place are they're linked to another document. I don't know where they actually are. So remember in Bridge, and I said pay attention to that little link symbol that we come back to it? Well, now we're coming back to it. That link symbol means that this document has linked photos, or linked images, or linked content. So in this case, now in InDesign, in Mini Bridge as well as regular Bridge, I can go ahead and right-click and say Show Me Linked Files. And that will actually show me the files that are linked to that document, wherever they happen to be. Not only does it show them to me, but I can actually select them and drag them into my document. So InDesign is allowing me to place the content from one document into another without having to open up the document and find out where those files actually exist. Now, I have 4 images that I want to bring in, but I don't have time to click and make 4 separate frames. So I'm just going to drag out one big frame, but before I let go, here's the magic. I'm going to hit the up arrow key and the right arrow key to divide that one frame into 4 equal frames. Now that I've got those 4 frames built, I'm going to go ahead and click my fill frame proportionally to size all those images up and crop them where necessary. But I'm also going to turn on a cool new feature called Auto Fit. So now that we got this all in place, I need one more to bring in. So we'll bring back up Mini Bridge. We'll go ahead and grab that 5th image and drag it into that frame. And we'll also select that frame and turn on Auto Fit as well. So I've got everything set to Auto Fit. Last but not least, we're going to go ahead and go to our Layers panel. We're going to turn off the background layer temporarily. And we're going to grab our new Gap tool. The Gap tool will auto-detect the gaps between your frames. So now that it's detected that gap, it actually allows me to move the gap. And because I've got Auto Fit turned on, it's automatically scaling that content. That is awesome. So what else does it do? Well, modifier keys work as well. So if I hold down the Shift key, it will only do the top 2 as opposed to the bottom 2. And I can do the same thing here where I'm changing the gap between multiple frames by holding down the Shift key or doing them all uniform. Now you'll notice that this person is almost cut off in the frame, and if I hover over any of these images, I get this little wheel that is actually the reposition tool. So I just go ahead and hover over that wheel, hold down my mouse button, and I can reposition that photo without having to deselect or grab the direct selection tool. So great productivity tools. Now, we want to resize this frame and the image. Typically, that would mean holding down a bunch of keys. Now, because of Auto Fit, I'll just grab the corner and it will automatically scale that frame and the image accordingly because of the Auto Fit option. Last but not least, let's go ahead and work on this particular image, and I want to pull the metadata out of this image. In other words, I want to pull the description out of this image. How do I do that? Well, now within InDesign, we have the ability to do live captions. So if I go to captions, I can turn on the caption setup, and I can tell it exactly what I want to pull from all of the various metadata tags. So I don't want copyright in this case, I just want description. Down below, I get to dictate exactly how the position and style of that caption will come in, and I even have a paragraph style sheet to format the caption. So we'll click OK, and all that does is turn the feature on or set it up. Now we'll right-click one more time on that image, and we'll go to Captions, and we'll say Generate Live Caption. In other words, create the caption based on the settings I just put. So now if we zoom in on this, we can actually see that it generated the description underneath that photo from the actual photo itself. What makes this live is that this frame has got the intelligence in it now to pick up the caption from any image that it's touching. So if I go ahead and touch another image with it, it will pick up the description from that one. So I can even just duplicate this frame as many times as I need it and put it wherever I want to pick up the description from all of my various photos. And if my photos change in the frame, or if I go back to Bridge and update the metadata, my captions will automatically update as well. Now, before we leave this area, there's one more thing I must show you. We'll go ahead and click on this image. And in the upper right-hand corner of that image now is a new kind of icon. That icon is your live corner option, your live corner effects. So let's go ahead and click on that, and it will turn on the live corner effects. I can now just pull these little diamonds in to dynamically change my corner effects. Well, while that's cool, what's really cool is what people have been wanting to do for the longest, and that is if I hold down my Shift key, I can now change the corner effects independent of each other. So just by holding down the Shift key, I can create new designs and new looks that were just about impossible before without manually making the frames with the pen tool. So very cool to be able to do all of this now inside of InDesign CS5. So next, let's go to the next really cool thing that people have been wanting for a very long time that will save you hours and hours of layout time. Also, let's go back to our layers panel and turn back on that background layer. So we've got our background layer turned on, and the next thing we're going to do is we have a text problem here. This is a typical problem where we got this big headline and it doesn't look right. It would really look better if it was split across or spanning two columns. So we're going to just go ahead and highlight that headline, and now we have split and span controls. So I can just simply say span that across two columns, and it will automatically do the right thing and balance everything out. I don't have to create a third new frame for that headline. It takes care of it for me. Awesome to be able to do this. Now let's go ahead and switch over to page 12. On page 12, we have another problem here of formatting that we need to take care of. So we're going to do a couple of things here. We're going to go ahead, first of all, and click into this first column. I've decided now this should be a 3-column layout. The next thing I want to do is I want to take this headline and I want to actually span it across 2 columns. Great. Okay, but here we got this bulleted text, and I got enough room over here that if it could actually be 2 columns, but there's really no way to do 2 columns within a column. Except what I can now do is highlight this text, and I can now say that I want to split that into 2 columns, and it will automatically balance everything out. Awesome. As a matter of fact, that also lets me turn on a different layer that I've got on the background here for the blue box behind that text, and now it fits perfectly. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and zoom in. We're going to double click on the word local here. And while we're zoomed in on that word local, we're going to go to our brand new track changes. With track changes, we can actually track the changes that are made to your text in your document. So I can turn it on for this story. Now that it's turned on, I can actually go in and make a change. Let's say we want to change that from local to global. And now that we've made that change, let's say we come back tomorrow and we want to know what's been changed in this document by the editors that worked on it last night. Well, if I bring up this in Story Editor, I'll hit Command Y, it will show me all the changes that were made, and more importantly, it will show me who made them and when they made them and what they did. So I can actually click on my change. It says that Terry White made this change, and it shows me when I made it. And I'm ready to go. Now, of course, at this point, what do I want to do? Do I want to accept it, reject it, or whatever? So I have all of those commands here, as well as being able to right-click on it and choose the same thing. So if I reject it, it will put it back to the way it was. If I accept it, it will make it permanent. And of course, I can reject individual pieces. So there were really 2 changes made here. First, we deleted the word local, and then we added the word global. So I can reject or accept both of those or any one of those. So track changes will be a welcome addition for people that are in smaller work groups that don't necessarily have the power of InCopy. All right, so next, let's go ahead and take a look at one of the other productivity features, and that is because InDesign is now multi-threaded, that means that it can support background operations. So if we do an export of this, for example, to PDF, let's go ahead and choose PDF as our format here. We'll make it a print PDF. and we'll say that we want to put this into a new folder called PDF. All right, so now we'll go ahead and export this out, and the minute I click Save or Export on this, it will throw that process to the background. And I don't even have to have that panel up, but now I can keep working. I can go make changes, go do other things, add pages, work on other documents, while it's taking the time to export out that entire spread. And when it's done, it will just disappear out of the background task dialog box or panel, but the actual work will be done. So it's done, and I didn't have to wait for it to get done in order to keep working. Now I've got this spread kind of ready to go, but I need some approvals on some of the things I've done, especially the text changes I've made. So we'll open up our CS review panel. We'll go ahead and create a new review based on this spread. We'll go ahead and save this out. And we'll call this the CS review version of it. And now it will ask me, how do I want to handle this? Do I want to export the current spread, all the pages? What quality do I want? So it will take a snapshot of this spread and upload it to acrobat.com to your CS review area. Once it's uploaded, you will then be able to go look at it in your browser directly inside of CS review. So it'll take a few more seconds to upload that. Looks like it's just about done here, and we will now pop over. And by the way, I could actually either click the link or have it show it to me upon export. But now we'll pop over to, actually I will click the link because I don't have the page up anymore. So that will take us over to the browser, log us into acrobat.com, and that will take us to our review. And before we go to the review, actually, I'm going to go back a step. Log into acrobat.com, and I want to show you where the reviews exist. They exist in your workspace. They exist where all your other acrobat.com content exists. There's the review. I can click on it. At this point, the actual spread will load, and now I will have the ability to go in and share this review with my colleagues. So there's the review, and it looks kind of bad. It's like, I wouldn't be able to read that. Well, you can zoom in on it. That's right. You can zoom in on it directly inside of InDesign. Or, I'm sorry, inside the browser. So it's taking advantage and leveraging our Flash technology. We can go ahead and share this out to individuals, whether they have the Creative Suite or not. So we'll share this out with Mike Wallen. Please review. And we make him a co-author. That means he'll be able to edit or add parts to this, or we could just make him a simple reviewer and all he'd be able to do is add comments. So now that this has been shared out, he will get an email with a link to this file, and then he'll be able to go in and do any commenting he wants. He can actually highlight the text, like the word global, and he can say, let's make that domestic. Save it out, and he'll be able to actually click on individual objects and make comments as well as going in and highlighting this particular area of a document and change color. So now all of the comments have been made, but there we go. Let's do that one more time. Cancel that. Here, we'll do it this way, change color. All right, so now that all of the comments have been made, what happens? It looks like I made it twice. What happens in InDesign? Let's go ahead and switch back. And inside of InDesign, InDesign has been keeping track of it. And not just InDesign, but Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign in the CS Review panel are keeping track of all of your reviews. So it shows my 4 comments. It allows me to go in and click on an area to see what that comment, where that comment exists. I can actually show that comment in the layout, and there it is. And I can actually go ahead and navigate to it if it were on a different page. I can also reply back to it. I can say that, you know what, it's a corporate mandate. So I saved my reply back. If we were to go back to the browser and look at acrobat.com, we'll see that wherever that comment was, there we go, that there is one reply to it. And that reply is it's a corporate mandate. So everyone that's participating in the review sees all the comments, they see what's been replied to, and it's a great way to review directly from launching within Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign and having all your comments come right back into your native environment. So, in conclusion, that is InDesign. It totally rocks. I hope that you find this video of value and that you will be just as excited as I am about all the new capabilities inside of InDesign CS5. That's my time. Thanks for watching.